Good morning, hope you're doing well. Let's continue refactoring Futurecam. This time we'll try to look at some of these hard coded constants. This is one. I think putting the maxes together will make it more readable. MP resolution of all three back cameras. Photos are captured for photos. There should be something else called video. I all say max, but some of these are for video, so that's something we'll need to work on. Max photo width for any. Is this readable? Maybe we should just call it max width. Like, this is absolute maximum width. No matter what you do, you can never take a photo or video with higher resolution than this using any camera. Because sometimes when it's too verbose, and I think I am the one who suggested this verbose name, so perhaps that, not perhaps, that was a bad decision on my part. Max width. In Swift, as far as I know, constants are not uppercased. Okay, in that forum everyone is talking about their own preferences. Yeah, okay, so that is the Swift convention. We don't use uppercase. Okay, I mean, it would have made it more readable, but anyway. What should we call it? We don't want to say photo because this is the max for video also. You can never have a video bigger than this. For any does not help. Like, for any what? Is it for any camera, like back or front? Is it for any mode? For any what? Yeah, we should remove such meaningless qualifiers. Should it be namespaced better? Should it be within the AV capture device namespace? Because if it's a global constant, what width is it? We don't know, right? Or should it be within PH photo library? Because sometimes what happens is you capture at a higher resolution, then you downscale it or you crop it and you save it. So these are not necessarily the capture resolutions, but the saving resolutions. So these two are the capture resolutions. So I think these two should be in AV capture device because the camera physically cannot capture higher than this. Oh, this is not used? So there was, yeah, this value 2056 is more a limitation of the PH photo library, which is the gallery in your phone, because that cannot save videos at a very high resolution. Photos, yes, it can save at the full resolution, but not videos. So anyway, I mean, the global scope is the worst scope for it. Are we not using these? What's going on here? Oh, when I search for any, it's not used. Okay. Yeah, let's maybe look at the call site. We'll see what looks more natural in that context. Forget storyboards. Can I do this? Dot storyboard. Now we have 9. Now we have 12. Okay, this works. I got the syntax right. So here we are verifying that the buffer has been produced at the full resolution of the camera. So this makes sense to put there. This is a comment. This is a comment. This is while saving. Here you are ensuring that you are saving photos at the full resolution of the camera. Again, it should be an AV capture device. This should be an AV capture device because the width is not being cropped, only the height is. Yes, let's move these to AV capture device. Extension AV capture device. Oh wow, we have quite a few extensions. Huh? Resolution. I don't think this is used anymore. Static. The front camera has lower resolution. Is that true even today? Like for the latest iPhones? If you look at whatever the Pro Max 14, I guess, or 13, okay, whatever the number is. They should make this in sync with the iOS version. Oh my god, where is the front camera among all this? Is this the front camera? I guess. Okay, now that's for, no, that's also 12 megapixel. God knows what they mean in their marketing speak. Because originally I thought this refers to the depth sensor. But anyway. Apple has this weird thing about, they used to call cameras eyesight, you know, like iPhone, like the letter I, sight, which was maybe cool 20 years back, but today it sounds silly. Anyway, so now we can't say has, you can say can have, because it doesn't always have. and videos are saved at a lower resolution. And the Photos app supports videos only at a lower resolution. So these are the Macs I think we are going into too much detail. Would it be better if I phrased it this way? The maximum resolution across all cameras. That's it. No need to write an essay. Okay? Static let min width. Yes, we know that if it is portrait, it will be swapped. If you don't do this :uint, the data type is inferred as a plain int. The minimum resolution across all. I don't even know what is the oldest device this app supports. Okay, never mind. The maximum resolution across all cameras. So this is like no matter what you do, you can never exceed this. This is like the minimum. Okay, great. So now what do we do with this? What are the values we deleted? All of them have for any. So this is something that's sorted out. Can we just commit this by itself? I don't like too many. Mode, format. This is a function. Yeah, this is used only for analytics. Delete commented code. Great. Now the diff is slightly smaller. Okay, so these three are removed. They are put in AV capture device. Now we need to find. There are no references to these three variables because we already searched for any and we couldn't find, so we don't need to worry about that. We just need to add references to these where appropriate. I also I'm not sure about this commit. Like how abstract should we make the code? For example, this says verify 12 MP. Should we make it like verify maximum resolution? But that's actually less understandable, because what does max mean? Does that mean max across the back cameras, across all cameras? Does it mean max for the current device or max across all devices? So I don't know, I am not happy with this refactoring. Let's have the hard coded constants. I know what this means when I look at it. So previously, we had a function called verify full resolution. That was very hard to understand. It was too abstracted out. Some of us smart people, or you could say overly smart people, have a tendency to abstract things out too much. Min photo height for light trail photo. This also applies to a light trail video. So again, you have a named constant that's unhelpful. So delete it. The fact that we spent some time coming up for a name like min width and max height and so on. Sometimes if you can't come up with a good name, it's an indication that there's something fundamentally wrong with what you're doing. This is the same cycle I went through 2 years back. The engineer wrote some name. In code reviews, I suggested another name. We went with that. Or maybe I insisted on my name being used. And it still didn't help. It just confused. So let's be done with those. But there's something else we can do, which is, this is fine, width and height. Yeah, we need to fix this. What type of? This is a CI image. This is a comment, I guess. Yes. This is a comment. This is a comment. This is only non-comment use of this. Oh, there's one more named constant. Okay, fine. We'll take care of it. Yeah. See, this is no good. Frame dot extent dot width. Extension CI image. Var width. Return var height. These should be uints. The other thing is CV pixel buffer. I don't like this. CG size consists of a floating point width and height, which just causes more problems, because now you have to think about how to convert it to integer. And sometimes you get values like instead of 1000 you get 999.9999. If you just truncate it, you're doing it wrong. You are ending up with 999. You should actually round it. We don't want this mess. Forget it. And these should be uint. I don't care if Apple's underlying APIs define it as a signed integer, because logically it is, you can't have a negative width. That's why the language has uint. Use whatever your language has to express your data. If you are using Java, you don't have uint, which is totally fine. So Swift convention is contradictory here. They say don't use uint, use int. Then why did they define uint in the language? Doesn't make sense. Okay, cool. So pixel buffer has width and height.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
I need to turn off my Google speaker. The smart speaker is actually dumb. It often triggers when it shouldn't. Okay, so extent dot origin. Oh, so a CI image is an image. Its dimensions are specified by an extent, which is a rectangle that also has an origin. Which is weird. It only causes problems, because if you're trying to composite two images, you're trying to, like blend two images by putting one on top of the other. If the origins don't match, the image is offset with regard to the other image. Then what happens? So if you have a, let's say, 1000 by 1000 image and another 1000 by 1000 image, and you're trying to composite them, and the origin of one of them is 500 500, so it's offset halfway through. So when you composite it, the result is 1500 by 1500, because it takes a union of the areas of both the images. It just makes it unnecessarily complicated. Oops. Return extent dot width. Return extent dot height. So when you work with any kind of framework, it offers you some APIs which have their pros, right? Like, for example, I often criticize Apple's APIs, but in a way they are excellent. For example, they process a gigabyte of data every second using the GPU. They are very optimized, etc. They are 3 times faster than OpenCV. So the underlying APIs may have their advantages. They may also have their disadvantages. So don't hesitate to work around the disadvantages of, their disadvantages. It could be as simple as converting a signed to an unsigned integer, or checking things. So now with this accessor function, I don't need to worry about the extent. See, look at this mess. This is bad code again, because it doesn't round. You can see how many problems are there. Image, it shouldn't be image.extend.width. This is a CI image, right? Image.width. You still need to convert it to int, because this API takes an int, which is not a problem. Again, this is not aligned. Swift convention, and before that Objective-C convention, and in fact any language, right? When you split it, even Java, right? It has to be like this. Okay. Blend, yeah. Okay, this is a good thing. Oops, I'm comparing extents. Is there a CG rect dot roughly equal? Okay, I'll just note it in Sublime so that I don't lose this search here. Why did that go off the screen? Oh man. Never happens. This is an old trick from many years back. No, it insists on going off screen. There you go. Do we have roughly greater than. We should actually have roughly greater than. X CG rect dot roughly equal. Okay, fine. Actually, I'm just wondering, should we, instead of 0.1, should we just do integer comparison, like round it to integer and then compare? Anyway, so right now the job is to search for references to extent. First, we don't need to do this. Second, we don't need this ugly code. Now that we are rounding, we don't need minus 0.1. Right? If you look at the code, oops, this is what I had intended to write. And Swift has type inference. Since the return type is uint, when you do dot round, the compiler infers that you intended uint dot round. Okay. There's another copy paste mistake here. No, this is not the place. We were looking at some file, not this. Were we looking at this? No. Yes. So now we no longer need to worry about CI image weirdness, because other image types like CV pixel buffer, CG rect, UI image don't have this weirdness. They also have integer width and height, whereas CI image has floating point width and height. You want to abstract out all these like silly differences. It's all accidental complexity. You want to focus on essential complexity. Yeah, this also needs a width and height. So here the thing is, okay, we'll need to work on this. We'll just leave this tab open. This should be fine. This. Oh, some more mess here. Oh. Yeah, we need to do something with this. We'll get to it in a second. This is a CI image, so this is straightforward. You don't need to do this reverse code as well. Someone said this style of coding is like saying if blue is the sky rather than saying if the sky is blue. Verify frame dot width equal to. See, this is how a normal person would code it up. Frame dot height equal to, and you don't need to worry about this. Yeah, this needs a floating point thing, so you can't do frame dot width. Yeah, we need to look at this stuff. AV capture photo. Oh, UI image also needs to be thought of. We'll get to that in a second. I think CG image has a width and height which are already integer, so we don't need to define an accessor. See, you can see how Apple's frameworks are inconsistent with each other, right? Each of them is part of, like CG image is part of the core graphics framework, and this framework is consistent internally, not with another framework like core image, which houses CI image. Okay, can't help it. Do we have width and height here? No, we don't. Yeah, this wraps something else. It wraps a pixel buffer. Oh, look at this C API. CV pixel buffer get width. Okay, so here CM sample buffer. Ah, you have to get the width of the underlying CV pixel buffer. Okay, got it. Yes, you get the CV image buffer is same as pixel buffer. I don't know why Apple has typed them, but anyway. So yeah, now I remember the CM sample buffer doesn't have a width and height of its own. You know, I'm rethinking the necessity or the wisdom of this class as well. The thing I'm wrestling with is, okay, never mind, we can define it this way. We'll just I think we should put it in a logical order. When you talk about an image, the first thing is not the metadata, it's the pixels. So let's put that first. Then there is var width oops, not set get. Now what you do is actually let's do this search again. This is the thing we have to fix, AV capture photo. Let's not forget that. Just want to make sure I haven't missed any. So while blending, we are checking extents. Oh, it's the same thing. Multiple results are coming up. This should be fine. You should worry about extents only when you are blending two CI images. Here you are just dividing all the pixels by some number, so it's not a problem. Here, what did I do? Yeah, let's not remove this. Why remove this? This is a good thing to test for. Don't delete verifications unless you're like 200% sure, because The reason I wrote this was at some point this was failing. To debug it, I wrote it. So leave it in. It will also serve as documentation that you need a CI image with 0 origin to proceed with this code. Yeah, these are all they require floating point. The annoying thing in Swift is an int or a uint can't be promoted to a double. Like all integer values, actually it's 64 bit, so it may not even fit. Yes, if it's 32 bit, it would have fit. Okay, never mind. So now, yeah, all this is fine. There's also a file called cm sample buffer plus util. Yes, where it. So basically, now that we have defined it here, we need to implement it in both the places. If it's an AV capture photo, return pixel buffer dot width. This could be optional, otherwise return 0. Write these documentation comments. IDEs like Xcode, show them when you hover over the name. So I could have been lazy and wrote one comment for both, saying the dimensions of this buffer. But don't do that, because then when you hover over height, you won't get any tool tip. Okay. Return pixel buffer. This question mark is because it's optional, and this double question mark says if it is nil, return 0. Don't stuff things together, give them some room. Okay. Width and height. Now you need to define here as well. Var width. So CM sample buffer can represent any type of media, including an audio. So if you are recording audio from the microphone, you get a series of sample buffers, each containing some fraction of a second of audio. That is why it doesn't have a width and height, because it's like a generic wrapper. An audio doesn't have width and height. It can so CM sample buffer can contain a CV pixel buffer if it is an image, or if it's an audio, it can contain some other kind of data which I don't know. So return pixel buffer dot width, which is why you need to implement this forwarding functions. There's a good reason why iOS doesn't have them. There you go. Let's look at our handiwork. See how much cleaner this is. You don't even need to worry anymore about rounding and so on. Seal versus floor, floating point versus integer types, because the AV capture photo or CM sample buffer has a width and height. This is still better than this because this is wrong, you're not rounding. Here, since it's a uint which you're converting to a signed int, you don't need to worry about rounding. So it's still an improvement. Yes. Now this code is understandable, whereas this code is like you have to stop and think what's going on, which is not a good thing. So all of these now, CM sample buffer, AV capture photo, CI image, CV pixel buffer, all four have a width and height. And all of them are uint. So there is consistency in our internal API. Even though the underlying iOS API which we are abstracting over is inconsistent. Okay, cool. Let's search for 4032. Okay, this is fine. Let's search for 3024. We should have found everything, but still. Yeah, this is all fine. Let's search for 2056. And 3088. Oh, we still have some mess here. So now this is a buffer. Oh, it's not the local variable is wrong. Okay. Define width and height accessors for CI image, CV pixel buffer, CM sample and AV capture photo or CM sample buffer that consistently return a uint. Do we have to say that it rounds? No, that's an implementation detail. What do we work on next? Oh, this is something we need to work on. Okay. Func roughly equal. We used to have it on CG rect. I think we removed it. I removed it. Return origin dot, because we have roughly equal on both origin and size, we can just do this. This is for the origin, this is for the size. other dot origin and then size dot roughly equal other dot size. Fix compiler error. I feel happier deleting the named constants max, photo, height for any and all others. We have a problem. How many to-dos do we have? Yeah, we are not going to test on these old iPhones anymore. Commented code. No, actually, we can leave that. Okay, there is one here. When I'm lazy, I want a small refactoring to do. I look for to-dos. Yeah, you can't dedupe code and IB. So interface builder is a drag and drop UI designer. So the code and it can get out of sync, but you can't do anything about it. Yeah, so now the question is if, yeah, this one will need to work on. But there's a different task for it. Show. What is a sender? Sender is the other controller. Yeah. So we are in main controller. Sender will be self, the main controller. Yes, this is a bigger refactoring. I worked on it earlier, didn't work. It didn't work. This is bad code. Startup pressure causes this. This is an implementation comment, not a documentation comment. This is not related to the interface of this function, it's related to the implementation. So this class hint manager shows hints to the user. Hints are, so we have built a system that analyzes what the user is doing, and when he is using the app wrong, it gives a hint telling him how to use it correctly. Now we have put ask for email ID here. We can build an alternative system, a different class, but it's implemented using the underlying API, the same underlying API, which is SCL alert view. So strictly speaking, it should be in another class, but practically speaking, it's not worth it. Like, it's not ideal, but sometimes there isn't an ideal solution, and it's okay. You periodically have to keep fixing TODOs. I also don't like this syntax. This is done. Yeah, I considered defining an image protocol with some common functions across all types of images: CG image, CI image, CV pixel buffer, and so on, AV capture photo. But then we defined these width and height accessors separately. And at the call site, we have a reference to a specific type of image, not a generic image. So we can always do whatever dot width without needing a protocol. So this is done. It's done in a different way, but done. In the next commit, we'll be working on this task in the next video. I think we have enough for this video, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. If you'd like me to help your team write great code that produces the right business outcomes for your company, my consulting link is in the description. See you.